And as some of you may have seen on the screen, we will be recording the session. All right, well, seeing that a good number of folks have joined the call, why don't we get started? Hello, everyone. On behalf of the Massachusetts Clean Energy Center, welcome to the Critical Mass 2025 webinar. Today's webinar will be presented by Mass CEC and the Alliance for Climate Transition, also known as ACT Institute. Mass CEC and others have been working diligently over the past 2 years to develop this new climate tech commercialization grant program as part of Mass CEC's economic development strategy. We are delighted that you'll be joining us today as we provide complimentary information to the official Critical Mass request for proposals that was released on July 2nd, 2025. And we'll be posting a link to the RFP in the chat momentarily. For today's agenda, we will have a team introduction where you'll be introduced to those of us working behind the scenes to bring the Critical Mass program online. We'll have overviews of Mass CEC and ACT Institute. We'll have an overview of the Critical Mass program. And lastly, we'll open up the floor for a live Q&A. All right, so I'm pleased to present the Critical Mass team. I'd like to ask each member of the team to come on camera and provide a brief introduction, starting with Leslie.
Thanks, Dan. Hi, everyone. My name is Leslie Nash. I'm the Senior Program Director on the Technology to Market team, helping support the rest of the team in developing this program. I'll pass it to Maddie.
Yeah, hi, everyone. I'm Maddie Zeliff. I'm the Program Manager, one of the Program Managers on the Tech to Market team. I oversee our growth stage programs, including Critical Mass. I also see David's on the line as well. His picture isn't here, but I'd love if he can do a little intro because he's been helping a lot with this program as well.
Thanks, Maddie. David Wilson, principal on the investments team at Mass CEC. So not directly responsible for Critical Mass, but trying to help out from the point of view of our 2030 investment fund, as we're working with many of the same companies. And yeah, pass it back to Maddie and Dan.
Thanks, David. Hey, everyone. Dan Hibbs, Program Administrator here on Mass CEC's Tech to Market team. And I'll pass it over to Alistair.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, Alistair Pym. I'm the Vice President of Innovation and Partnerships at ACT, the Alliance for Climate Transition, where I lead our innovation team. You'll hear more about that later. And I'm going to introduce Magdalena Wilk in my team as well, who's sorry she's not able to join us today. She's on vacation in a place where there's no internet, but she's Director of the Navigate program, and both of us are supporting Critical Mass.
Thanks, everyone. All right, so next we'll provide a brief overview of Mass CEC. So Mass CEC is on a mission to accelerate the clean energy and climate solution innovation that is critical to meeting the Commonwealth's climate goals, advancing Massachusetts' position as an international climate leader while growing the state's clean energy economy. Here at Mass CEC, we are committed to creating diverse, equitable, and inclusive teams in our organization where everyone is welcomed, supported, respected, and valued. We are committed to incorporating principles of diversity, equity, inclusion, and environmental justice in all aspects of our work. Our work at Mass CEC is focused on 4 areas: accelerating decarbonization, emerging climate tech, large-scale deployment of offshore energy, and workforce development. The Critical Mass program is a component of Emerging Climate Tech, which is focused on helping new climate-focused businesses grow faster by backing a vibrant community of researchers, startups, and established industry players, creating an ecosystem where they can connect and thrive. Climate tech encompasses an array of tech solutions across sectors that further mitigation, adaptation, and resilience. Mitigation pertains to the capture or reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, while adaptation and resilience pertains to the preparation and response to the impacts of climate change. Climate tech can further be categorized into the following areas: energy, transportation, buildings, adaptation and resilience, industry and manufacturing, agriculture, food and nature, and carbon management. And so next we'll dive a little bit further into Mass CEC's focus on emerging climate tech. Mass CEC's emerging climate tech strategy is to stimulate the commercialization of promising climate technologies while supporting company growth in the Commonwealth. We provide stable funding to achieve climate goals faster and more cost effectively. We bridge known funding gaps to stimulate local jobs and economic development. And we offer hands-on support to promote equity in climate tech. This graph plots Mass CEC's tech-to-market programs across all startup development stages, with technology readiness levels on the x-axis and funding potential on the y-axis. The technology readiness level framework is a systematic way to measure and communicate the maturity of particular technologies. CriticalMass is our latest tech-to-market program aimed at supporting climate tech startup companies as they continue to scale. Mass CEC also provides investments to climate tech startups. So now we'll pause momentarily to allow members of the audience to become acquainted with our program web pages and communication channels by scanning the QR code. Wonderful. And next we'll hand it over to Alistair to provide an overview of the ACT Institute.
Thank you, Dan. And as I said earlier, I'm Alistair Pym, the VP of Innovation and Partnerships at ACT. And I just wanted to spend a few minutes to explain what we do at ACT, who we are, what we do, and tell you a little bit about myself as well. And to start with that, I've had a career that's mostly been focused on forging and growing partnerships at various different levels. In the private sector, I ended up working at Schneider Electric, managing global strategic alliances with IT companies like IBM and Microsoft and Cisco. And now as a nonprofit, working with all sorts of different partners. So it's much more of a partner ecosystem. But the point is, I know a lot about partnerships. I've worked for a startup. So I have some empathy for all of you who are trying to forge partnerships for this purpose, for critical mass. Next slide, please. So ACT is a nonprofit, and our mission, which is very closely aligned to that of Mass CEC, is to lead the just, equitable, and rapid transition to a clean energy future and a diverse climate economy. So we cover all the different sectors of clean tech and climate tech, as you can read there. And our goal is to end up with a decarbonized and equitable Northeast. And for us, the Northeast, in some of our programs, especially the innovation ones, runs from Eastern Canada all the way down to Virginia. So an expanded Northeast. And that goal is really to create a region where all communities can access the benefits of sustainability. Next slide. So how do we achieve that? If you look at what we do, it's really broken down into 5 different streams. Starting in the bottom right with innovation, we nurture startups. We help startups from all stages, really educate them at the beginning how to speak business and talk to investors, and connect them into the ecosystem. And I'll show a slide with more detail on that. And then moving clockwise to policy next. When you think about emerging technology, often in regulated industries like energy, policy and regulations take a little time to catch up. So we work on behalf of our members, which include many startups, to advocate for favorable policy, to open up markets and allow them to scale and deploy their solutions. The next one around municipal leadership. If you think about where energy is mostly used and where emissions mostly come from, that is in cities and towns, especially the big dense cities. So we work with municipal leaders, and we're helped there because our president is a former mayor, so he knows a lot about this. but to understand where they're going with their goals, what their challenges are, and help to connect them to the ecosystem that we have so that they have people who can help them meet their goals. Skipping the top one, I'll come back to that, but the next one, workforce development, it's going to take a lot of people to scale up all of the solutions we need to deploy. So we're acting as a connector between the educational establishments, the universities in the region, the community colleges, with the employers. So we turn out from those programs people who are trained with the skills they need to get jobs and deploy the solutions. And the last thing we do is really engage with the ecosystem and convene them, especially. Lots of events we put on. And the purpose there is to help get people on the same page so that everyone knows where we are along this journey, what the challenges that are remaining, and what opportunities there are for business as well. Next slide. So we work with companies at all stages of development, as I said, starting at the very early concept stage with our Clean Tech Open Northeast Accelerator, which we've been running since 2014, but has existed in its original form coming out of MIT since 2005. And in that time, nearly 700 companies have come through that program. We've got 40 odd going through this year. And more than 60% of them are still around, which is unusual in the startup world, normally a much lower rate. So those companies have gone on to raise, I think more than $2 billion. They've got revenues of $700 million in aggregate, and they've helped to create 8,000 jobs. And then the next program along is Navigate, where over the last 10 years, we've been connecting startups to investors and partners and customers when they've reached their pilot stage, which can often be sort of 4 or 5 years after doing Clean Tech Open. And now Navigate is very, very much focused on the fork stage, the deployment stage, and we're helping with critical mass. And that's where Magda fits in. And finally, for companies which are fully commercial, we have our membership of ACT, the other nonprofit, where we work on behalf of our members to advocate for policy and regulations and put all those networking events on. So we have about 300 members in that group. Next slide, please. So how can we help with this program, with critical mass? So before contracting, i.e. starting now, we're here to help both the startups and the project partners and any other partners involved build strong relationships. So with our experience and also with our network of experts, we can help do that. To me, building these relationships is all about talking. It's about getting to know each other, assessing alignment, both on the strategy side, but also with values. And then understanding what a win-win-win could look like, a win for each partner, but also for the customer. And thinking about what goals you might want to put in place and what metrics you might want to use. And then finally, thinking about what roles you want to take in this partnership and what resources you want to bring to bear. So things to think about as you start this journey. We want to encourage you to talk as early as you can. There's a lot to get through if you want to build the proposal. And we're here to offer support, as I said before. Next slide, please. After contracting, which we expect to be in the beginning of next year, sort of February timeframe, we're here to help again. We're here to help keep the partnerships on track. We'll be setting up monthly check-ins to understand what challenges you're facing, what things are going well, to talk through any issues, and to see if we can help or we can find other people to help in our network. Part of what we are contracted to do is to assign experts in residence to each startup, and they can be different ones over time, but it really focused on understanding your problems and figuring out who can help you overcome those problems. So the main message from us is we're here to help. We want to leverage our experience and our network to do that. We look forward to getting to know you and to helping you. And you can, I think all the project partners have my details already, but if any startups want to get to talk to me, you can find me on LinkedIn, or you can get my contact details through the project partners or through Mass CC. thank you very much, and I'll hand it back to Dan.
Dan, I think you're muted.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Alistair, for your remarks. Next, we'll hand it over to our program manager, Maddie Zeliff, to provide an overview of the Critical Mass program.
Thanks, Dan, and thank you, Alistair. We're very lucky to be working with ACT. It's very exciting. All right, next slide, please. All right, so we'll go a little bit into the actual program. So we'll talk about the challenge, support, timeline, partners, and how to apply, contracting, and then we'll have some time for questions. All right, next slide, please. All right, so the challenge, this is why we created this program after many months of doing some outreach and research. We found that growth stage climate tech startups face distinct challenges, including significant capital needs, regulatory complexity, and customer adoption barriers as they scale from pilot projects to commercial deployments. As we all know, sustained support is critical, and without it, startups struggle to penetrate the markets and build the financial momentum required for lasting success. Next slide. So with that in mind, we created the program CriticalMass to help solve this challenge. So this program builds on the momentum of Mass EC's legacy tech to market programs that you might be familiar with by providing funding and specialized support services, including access to partners to support climate tech startups as they expand from pilot projects to larger commercial deployments. All right, so this slide kind of shows where Mass EC's emerging climate tech programs as a whole fits into the commercialization scale. And specifically for this program, we are hoping to assist with companies with technologies that have already gone through their pilot projects and are now looking to scale up and enter the market. So here is a slide with a lot of words, and we'll go through it. And if we have questions, please put them in the Q&A and we'll get to them. But basically, a very high-level overview of the program. These grants are up to $1 million, as well as funding. We also have support service advisor through ACT, as well as entrepreneur in residence for awardees. We'll also be hosting a series of webinars and events throughout the project durations to help with other types of programming that you need and try to bring in people that can help. We also, as we talked about, and we'll talk more in the next slide, is matchmaking with partners. So this is an annual solicitation. As you all know, this is our first round. We're hoping to have this for other rounds as well. So if you're not quite at the fit right now in the TRL scale or other eligibility, we are planning on opening up another round next year. So eligibility, so this is for any startup in the US, climate tech startup, so you don't need to be in Massachusetts, but your partner and project will have to be in Massachusetts. This is for TRL 8+, and there is a 25% cost share requirement as well that you will have to be able to provide. It's encouraged at this stage that these companies will have raised between 4 million and 25 million and have 10 to 50 employees. This is not a strict requirement. It's just where we are envisioning people with the best fit for this program. We're also encouraging a high adoption readiness level as well, and then already had to complete a pilot project. So the way it goes is there's the partner matchmaking, which we'll talk about a little bit more. And then from there you'll submit a written application. We'll go through written application review, which we send to external reviewers who are experts in the field. We then will pick the top applicants to go to a pitch day. So we'll do a pitch day with a panel of judges, and then from there we decide who's getting awards. And then after that, we will go into contracting and grant funding. Next slide. All right, project partners. So we have recruited and onboarded 24 project partners that are included in the RFP appendix that can be found here, and we'll share the slides later, but also on our website. These partners include entities such as corporates, municipalities, utilities, universities, state agencies, and more. We're also actively recruiting new project partners for the next round, so there might be even a wider range of project partners to choose from. This appendix includes problem statements and interested technology areas for project partners that they submitted themselves. So this is like real information from these project partners of types of technologies that they're very interested in working with. So startups will have the chance to read through this appendix and reach out to project partners that you might be interested in working with. and you can submit a concept paper to them and then pick a time to meet with them and talk about if you think this partnership is a good fit for the critical mass program and if you'd both like to go forward with it. So after that, the startup would submit the application with the project partner on board. If you would like, you don't need to choose a project partner from the appendix. If you have a project partner in mind that isn't on the list, that is also okay. Either way, though, we'll need a letter of commitment from any project partner, either if it's from the appendix or if it's someone you're bringing in yourself. So here is our approximate date timelines. They're subject to change, but we're envisioning that they will stay roughly this way. So as you know, the RFP is currently open. Formal questions are due July 30th. And at that point, 2 days later, we are going to post all of the questions so everyone can see them in case you didn't come up with that question, but it's still valuable. And then if you are going forward with wanting to work with a project partner in the appendix, you will submit a concept paper to them by August 20th. You're more than welcome to submit earlier if you want extra time to meet with them, but that's the last day you can submit to them. Then from there, all written applications have to be submitted by September 22nd. Then it will go through the written review process for about a month, and then we will have pitch days November 6th or the week of that. And then we will have awards December 2025, and then contracting complete February, maybe a little later of 2026, and then first milestone due, which means projects can start in late winter or early spring of next year. So that is the approximate dates for the first round of this program. All right, how to apply. Most importantly, review the RFP if you haven't already and make sure that this is a good fit for you at this time and that you fit all of the eligibility requirements. If you are going forward with a concept paper to a project partner on appendix, the first step will be to submit that concept paper by the 20th. Please CC Critical Mass on the concept paper submissions. That will be very helpful for us just to keep track of everyone who's submitted concept papers, and then you'll submit the full application to criticalmass@massec.com by the 22nd. I believe the deadline's 11:59 p.m., so you'll have that day to work on it as well. Option 2, bring your own project partner. You don't need to submit a concept paper if you have your own project partner, so no need to do that. You would just have to make sure you submit the full application by September 22nd. All right, and then this is what you'll need to provide to Critical Mass when you are submitting. So full application and signature form, a project work plan draft. So this is just a draft at this point, but we'd like to know what you're envisioning for the project and the duration of the project. Letters of commitment, TRL calculation, and we do have a calculator on the website that helps you with that. Resumes of the lead applicant team, and then previous pilot project case studies. All right, so contracting. So if you are awarded, you will have to sign a grant agreement. A sample agreement is found in the RFP. There might be some changes, but will be largely the same. So the agreement includes a finalized project work plan, which is something we would work together on if you're awarded to make sure it's a work plan that both parties are comfortable with. A metrics collection template. So this will be filled out with each invoice and just helps the organization keep track of key metrics that we like to see. A cost share certification form, ACH enrollment, and a warrant agreement, which we will talk about in a few slides. And then there's also awardees must commit to cost share in budget terms. So there is a 25% cost share requirement on this grant of the award. 20% of this would have to be cash cost share and 80% in-kind cost share. You can do more cash cost share if you'd like, but that's the minimum. You also would have to agree upon allowable expenses. These include costs that are directly related to the Critical Mass program, and this can include like purchase of equipment, materials, supplies, direct labor of a subcontractor or the team. So that will all be laid out in the grant agreement. All right, and then warrant. So this is a new aspect that we're doing with Critical Mass. This will give the organization the right, but not the obligation, to purchase a specific number of the startup shares at a fixed price in the future if Mass EC chooses to exercise the warrant. So Like the grant agreement, the warrant agreement, there is a sample in the RFP as well. And the terms of this roughly are Mass CEC will be obtaining 10% of the grant in warrants for common stock. The grantee's price per share will be determined by most recent equity financing or 409A valuation. And then the terms of this warrant agreement will be 7 years from the date of execution. All right, and that was a lot of talking, but we do have a lot of time for questions. So if you have any, you can put them in the Q&A. We'll also be, we're recording these slides. We'll be posting the slides as well as posting all of the Q&As that we receive over email or during this webinar. All right, I'm going to go through. All right, so I see, Alistair, you answered a question. We'll answer them live. But I saw you typed your question, so. Aaron.
Okay, sorry.
I'm going to go through. Should startups be reaching out to project partners before the concept paper stage, or is it expected the concept paper is the first time to reach out to them? I would say you can reach out to them before the concept paper stage. We let the project partners know that startups might be reaching out to them beforehand. So you could reach out. I would say the first time you reach out to them, it would be worth sending like a one-page concept paper so they are like familiar with the company and who you are, but you can do it before the concept paper deadline. I think it's wise to do it as early as possible so you have more time to negotiate and get to know each other. All right. Let's see. Approximately how many startups do you expect to select for this year's Critical Mass cohort? So for the first round, we're anticipating making 3 awards. And then I saw someone else had a similar question. Can a project partner be a contract manufacturer who would be producing our products? We're envisioning that we'd probably have to talk about a little bit more. We want these project partners to be folks that would like be your end customer, someone who you envisioning using your technology. So that one I'm happy to take offline, but we'd have to talk a little bit more about who you envision your target customer and end user of your technology.
Yeah, and just to add to that, Maddie, there is a definition more or less in the solicitation, the RFP, that defines what a project partner is. So I would encourage all applicants, everyone here, to take a look at that as well to make sure that they're the right fit.
Thanks, Leslie. And yes, the rest of the team, feel free to jump in if you want to expand upon any of my answers. Can we use the awarded money to serve as working capital for a 4 million CapEx project cost? Yes. Leslie, if you feel otherwise, but yes, that would be okay.
Yeah, it would be part of your cost share, I would imagine.
If the awarded project should garnish carbon credits or other project credits, will they go to the awardee, the project partner host, or to Mass CEC? Mass CEC wouldn't get these carbon credits. That would be up to you or your project partner, depending on your negotiations outside of Mass CEC. Let's see. What is the expected deployment duration for the system on site? We're envisioning these projects to be around 3 years. They can be less if you envision it, but we're thinking the whole project from start to finish will be 3 years. Obviously subject to change for some projects if needed. What should we do if a project partner doesn't respond to our concept paper? You can let the Critical Mass team or Alistair know. We are hoping that all the project partners do respond, even if they're not interested, just to make sure they're not leaving you hanging. So please let us know, but hopefully that does not happen. You mentioned the company doesn't have to be based out of Massachusetts, right? Yes, the applicant has to be US based, but it does not have to be Massachusetts based. So US based means that you have a headquarter, you have a headquarter in Massachusetts or in the United States and are legally operated to do business in the United States. Can applicants bring in multiple project partners? Yes, you can have multiple project partners on an application. You also are, per the RFP, you can submit 2 applications with different project partners if they're 2 different projects that you have in mind. If you do that, you would only be awarded 1 if you make it to that stage, but you're more than welcome to have as many project partners as you want on an application if that's helpful for you. Is the funding restricted to funding the specific deployment, i.e. labor and materials, or can it be applied to capital equipment to manufacture these components? It can also be open to capital equipment. So really anything other than overhead costs, we're comfortable funding. So like you said, labor, materials, purchase of equipment, things like that. Should we have completed Innovate Math, which for those who don't know is another program we have that's a little earlier stage before Critical Mass, or can there be overlap? For example, to transition the demo project with an Innovate Math partner to the larger scale deployment within Critical Mass with the same partner? Good question. So we don't usually have 2 open grants with the tech to market team at a time. You would be welcome to apply when you're almost done with your Innovate Math project, but not right during the same time if you're just starting to work on it. We do see this as a transition from Innovate to Critical Mass, so that's what we're envisioning is you would be finishing your Innovate Math and then going into Critical Mass. And then Leslie, I saw you.
Yeah, and the other thing I was going to say was you can use the same partner. You know, in
Yes.
case that wasn't obvious. I think Maddie was saying that, but just to be really clear, you absolutely can have the same partner in Innovate and in Critical Mass if that's what makes sense to you. But we envision the programs being sequential.
Yes. Are we allowed to submit concept papers to multiple project partners to improve our chances of being selected? That's part 1 of this question. Yes, you can submit concept papers to however many project partners you would like to, if they fit into what you would like to work on. And then from there, you would choose who you would want to go forward with and who the project partners want to go forward with as well. So yes, you can do that. Can we switch project partners between concept and full proposal? That one we would have to talk about more. So we would need a letter of commitment from your project partner when you apply. We do like to see the same project partner because that is what your whole proposal is based off of. So it's really up to you. The concept paper itself too is not something Mass CEC takes into account when we're evaluating proposals. So by full proposal, you should know who you want to work with. And if it doesn't end up being someone that you originally were intending to work with, that's fine. It's just whoever you submit with for the full proposal is who we'd like to see the letter of commitment from.
Yeah, the only thing I would just add to that, absolutely 100% what Maddie said, is also just to think a little bit about who you are targeting, whether it's from our appendix or not, but just being strategic, rather than sending out a bunch of feelers and a bunch of concept papers and then you kind of mulling them down afterwards. I think it is good to be intentional with whoever you do want to work with. The turnaround time is pretty quick. So just think a little strategically ahead of time of who you want to submit concept papers to. And make sure you're serious about working with them. And of course, things happen and you're welcome to come to the table with the full proposal with a different partner. But just to give it a little forethought is kind of my words of encouragement.
Thanks, Leslie. All right, we have a small company that has been around for 20 years, but is at a stage where we could scale up new tech from one of the partners that is in the climate resilience space. Would this be a fit for the program? So the lead applicant will have to own the proprietary technology being submitted in the application. So that I think we'd have to learn more about who this small company you refer to is, who they are and what they do, and if it would make more sense for the partner that has the technology to apply instead. So happy also if you want to shoot us an email, we can talk about that one more and get more details.
Yeah, and again, I mentioned it before too, but checking out the eligibility section of the RFP for something that nuanced, like Maddie said, the IP ownership element is in there. So there might be some of these things that we didn't cover in the webinar that might be helpful for folks to read. And then, yeah, we can absolutely chat offline.
Can we have some examples from previous awardees? So this is our first time running the program, so we don't have any examples from this program. If you do go to our on the RFP, and we have press releases on the Mass CEC website, there are examples of other programs like Innovate Mass, which is kind of the step below that, are smaller pilot programs if you're interested in learning about those. And we do have a few examples in the RFP, but unfortunately can't give any examples right now of previous Critical Mass awardees. Can a project partner be a company that is not on the Appendix A list? Yes, you can bring your own partner. It does not have to be on that list. Can you speak to the timing of the second round if the September deadline is too early? So we're still figuring that out, but we're envisioning we'll have another due date sometime in the spring. We'll be posting the updated timeline as soon as we have it ready to go, but it will be in the spring of 2026. So yes, if you're not quite ready yet, definitely keep your eye out for that date. Can more than one applications for different technologies be submitted and potentially awarded? This is coming from a project partner, I know.
I could jump into, we
Yeah.
would only award one project per lead applicant. So one startup will get at most one grant. If that answers that question, company A is not going to get 2 grants in the same round. However, partners can be listed on multiple. So if company A and company B are both working with partner 1, that might be a possibility. But the lead applicant would only get 1 grant. Is that ring
I
true?
think,
Maddie, am I explaining
yeah.
that correctly? Okay.
Yeah, I think especially knowing that comes from a partner, and startups will see a lot of the partners have a lot of different range of technologies they're interested in. So we're envisioning partners being on a lot of different types of applications, which is very exciting. You mentioned that there has to be 10 to 50 employees to be eligible. Do they all have to be in the US? We are around 40 to 50 employees in the US, but we have people working outside of the US as well. That would be okay. Yeah.
Yeah, we define what qualifies as US based in the RFP too. Is that right, Maddie? So you can double check and make sure, but yeah, that sounds fine.
Can warrants be issued based on a safe? I don't know if David is still here,
I
but
think he's coming off camera. We might
I
take
Yeah,
thought
no, I'll
that
take
was
that one.
David.
I would have to take a look at the cap table and learn a little bit more about sort of where the company is and what you have in mind. But I would say send us an email with a bit more detail about where you are, and we'll be happy to answer questions.
All right, and I think we're about to have another question about warrants. So David, stay there. Under which conditions would Mass CEC execute the right to purchase startup shares? Is it regulated?
Not actually clear what's meant by regulated here. I mean, the reason we are putting warrants on these grants essentially is to give the state a bit of potential financial upside for what are considerably larger commitments to single companies and projects than we've made in the past. So we want to be aligned with you on success of the project and the company. We would execute or we would exercise the warrant if we thought that there was an attractive financial opportunity in continuing to own stock in the company as you grow and move towards an exit. Regulated, I would have to learn more about what's meant by the question.
Thanks, David. Can you confirm that if we bring our own project partner, we do not need to submit a concept paper? That is correct. The concept papers are mostly for the benefit of the project partners on the list to get to know the startup that they're interested in working with. But if you already have this relationship with the project partner, you wouldn't have to submit a concept paper. You mentioned a 3-year deployment timeline. Is there a specific target for online date, i.e. first installation / first deployment? Would projects that require permits, planning, et cetera, that may span 1+ year be eligible? Yes, I think the 3-year duration, that could also be, like you just said, like part of that can be getting the permits, planning as part of the milestones leading up to the actual installation deployment. So that would be okay as well.
Yeah, and I think it's probably fair to say too, Maddie, correct me if I'm wrong, similar to our other grant programs, which many of you have participated in, the final milestone or element of our engagement officially would be the project is online. So we would want that to occur during our grant time together. And that would probably be the last part of our grant term together, but we'd want to see that come online.
All right, to follow up on this person's question about project duration, what is the required on-site duration for the system during deployment? Not the full project timeline, but specifically the period when the system is physically present and operating at the project location. So I think we kind of just answered that. We don't have like a strict requirement on how long we want the on-site duration of the system to be during the duration of our project. I think as long as by the end of the project it is online and in the intended deployment space, we would be comfortable with that. All right, and that was the last question. We'll wait a moment or two in case people, oh, we got another one. How are funds dispersed in Critical Mass? So this will be on a milestone and deliverable basis, like a lot of our other grant programs. So you would have to complete a milestone and then submit deliverables, and then we would pay after that. The first milestone for everyone is going to be just a completed work plan. So it's an easy one just to like get some money, have an easy deliverable, and then from there we would work with you to do more like individualized deliverables based on your project. Okay. If we're a bootstrap company with less than a 10% headcount but compelling revenue growth, are we eligible? We are also past Mass CEC winners. Yes, so we did say like we had the guidelines for employee count and funding amount, but it is not a strict requirement, and we're still very open to seeing applications from people that don't fit perfectly into those guidelines.
Yeah, the head count and the funds raised are recommended or encouraged, but there are other strict guidelines. So just make sure you fit into those, like the TRL or location. So there are some that are 100% have to meet basically eligibility, but the head count and the funds raised are flexible, just encouraged best fit.
Same with the adoption readiness level as well. That is an encouraged best fit, but not strict. So those three things, you don't need to perfectly fit. Like Leslie said, the other eligibility requirements we are strict on. Okay. No other questions, but oh, another one. Is the total funding for this program at 3 million? For this current round, yes, but for other rounds, we will have different funding. So yes, this round, yes, 3 million. Did you say TRL is also a flexible requirement? No, TRL is a strict requirement. So please fill out the TRL calculator and you can use other resources we linked in the RFP to help determine your TRL. If you also are not quite at that TRL level, we have other programs for less than TRL 8. So happy to point you in that direction as well if right now you're not quite there. And then ACT looks like someone is interested in scheduling a brief meeting with you. So that would be great.
Happy to do that.
And if anyone, I know our email is right here too. If anyone wants to get in touch with Alistair, I know he said to find him on LinkedIn, but if you also want to shoot the Critical Mass email request, we obviously have his email and are happy to connect. We have pilots in various states and our office is based in Detroit, but we haven't deployed pilots to Massachusetts. If so, am I eligible for this? So yes, you would have to have this project's or demonstration project in Massachusetts, but I know we talked about doing case studies for other pilot projects. Those don't have to be in Massachusetts. Those could have been anywhere else, so no problem about that. Cool. None others yet, but I'll once again give it a minute or so.
And I know Maddie mentioned this, but this is the webinar. Obviously, we're answering Q&A live, but if anyone has questions that they either think of later or don't feel is appropriate for this forum, you can submit written questions via email. We will post and anonymize all the Q&A on our website. So feel free to send us emails directly as well to the Critical Mass inbox.
Yes. We'll also be typing out answers to these questions as well. I know we went very fast, but we want to make sure everyone has a chance to reread them.
And I wanted to quickly comment that there is a typo in the email address on the screen. This should be at masscec.com. So there's a C missing at the end. Just wanted to point that out. And we've added a correct version of the email address in the chat. So thanks for your patience with that.
Good catch, Dan. And on the website too, it has our correct website or email as well. Okay, I think that's it on questions. Like Leslie said, please reach out if anything else comes to mind. And thank you all for joining and for your interest. And we will get this recording and the slides posted in the next few days. So thanks, everyone. All right.